Thank you, D. I really just need to open doors to the church after Dante brought that word today. That's what I need to do. Hey, go ahead, the deacon said. Give me a minute, all right. All right. He had. James Cleveland said it best. He's been good to me. Listen, I don't ever want us to get so used to the structure that goes on. We can't identify and appreciate the substance that goes on. That's important. And I realize we have certain things we do on a regular basis, but when you cut it all down, you got to make sure that you're getting something out of the message. And there's a few things that I want to bring into our participation next year as we prepare our calendar for next year. There's this program that I want to call, it's not a program. It's not a program, but I want you to get used to the concept of worship plus one, all right? Worship plus one. What is worship plus one? Worship means I'm going to make sure that I'm in a worship service, all right? And then I need a plus one. I need to make sure that I'm receiving some study of the Bible somewhere, at least one. This is a weekly thing, worship plus one. I need to make sure I'm either in Bible study on Sunday morning at the church, Bible study on Wednesday at the church, maybe not at the church. Maybe I'm in a life group somewhere in the community that we're going to establish. But I need to make sure that I'm receiving something so that every week, not only am I in worship, I'm also receiving some additional growth process. I think that's how you get to be a better believer. I believe that's how you strengthen yourself for the walk. You got to have study. You can't get everything on Sunday morning. I can't possibly do it for you on Sunday morning. You're going to, now this is in addition to what you do personally. You're going to have to pull your Bible out sometime. You're going to have to study. You're going to have your own prayer relationship with the Lord. Because I assure you, the time is going to come when you're going to need that connection with the Lord, and nobody in this sanctuary is going to be around you. And so if we only depend on the structures that we have here, if that's what you depend on, I don't think that's going to support you in your time of need. Yeah. So worship plus one, you'll start seeing some stuff come up about it. I think it's going to be good for us. And all it is a personal check to make sure, all right, I got worship. I need to make sure I got my plus one this week. I need to make sure I'm growing someone. That's going to be crucial. Today's message comes from James chapter 1. James chapter 1. James chapter 1. I'm also going to be doing this. Rick and them have got me and the folk with this new website. I'm supposed to be blogging, all right? Blogging. I'm not going to blog every week. I'm telling you that now because I can't. I don't have the time to blog every week. But I am going to try on a regular basis to tie the blogs into the messages. And so what it'll do, I think, is enhance the messages that we have, or if not enhance, for some of you, further explain what we're talking about. That's what I'm going to try to do. I think that'll be beneficial. But that'll all be on this website that looks real good right now. We got them tweaking some things, and I think November 15th is the actual rollout date for our new website with all the bells and whistles that we can put on it. I'm excited about that. It's been slower coming than I wanted, but that's my fault. That's my fault. And now we're tweaking some things. So I believe it's going to happen real good. We got a good committee that's working on it, that can keep it going and keep it fresh. James chapter 1, verses 13 through 15. Probably a familiar passage of scripture to some of you. It has to do with temptation. Anybody in here never been tempted? If you have never been tempted, raise your hand. Yeah, everybody in here has been tempted. And if you almost raised your hand, you were almost tempted to lie. All right? Everybody has issues. And James wrote this. He said, let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted of God. Let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted of God, for God cannot be tempted with evil. Neither, underline this, neither tempteth he any man. All right? He doesn't. But every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed. Then when lust hath conceived, it bringeth forth sin. And sin, when it is finished, bringeth forth death. There is a process. It's almost like conception through pregnancy all the way to delivery for sin. There's a whole process that comes with dealing with temptation. So today we want to talk about fighting temptation. How do you fight temptation? Not the movie with Beyonce and Cuba, but fighting temptation. Resisting the wiles, the ways. Wiles means ways of the devil, the schemes, the process of the devil. Many of you heard me use this example before of the mechanism that villagers in a small African village use to catch monkeys. It's a strange thing, simple. They don't use guns. They don't use anything violent. They use the same trap that the devil uses to catch us. Yeah, they take a banana and they put it in a trap. And there's a hole in the trap. And the monkey can freely, and they can leave. They don't have to stay. And the monkey can come and put his hand in through the hole and grab the banana. But he cannot pull his hand out while he still got the banana. And guess what? All the monkey has to do is have sense enough to drop the banana, and he can pull his hand back out. But they will stay there and stay there. They will die there with their hands still wrapped around the banana because all they see is the prize they have. And they don't realize that it's that enticement, that prize that has entrapped them. Now switch from the monkey, switch to us. What have you wrapped your hand around? Or maybe I should say, who have you wrapped your hand around that's got you trapped, that you can't pull away from? And would life be that simple that all I have to do is let it go? And I can get to freedom? Sometimes life is exactly that simple. The prize you see that you got to have, you put your hand on, never realizing the consequences that come with receiving that prize. And all you got to do is let the prize go. How we compromise ourselves, how we expose ourselves, how we put ourselves in harm's way just to get the prize when the prize wasn't worth it in the first place. Yeah, see, look, if the monkey had sense enough to look around, he would see that there were bananas everywhere. But he wants the banana that's right there, easily accessible to him, and instead of letting it go. And so that's how greed catches us, and we refuse to let it go. So Here we go, quickly through this scripture, and I can tell you that it's simple. Dante, you're right. I do have the. All right. First thing you need to know is you need to realize the source of temptation. Realize the source of temptation. Webster's dictionary defines temptation as the act of enticement to do wrong by promise of pleasure or gain. The act of enticement to do wrong by the promise of pleasure or gain. Enticement. When tempted, James wrote, no one should ever say, God is tempting me. For God cannot be tempted with evil. You know how we try to make promises with God? God, if you give me, then I'll do such and such. First of all, you can't bargain with God like that. And you certainly can't tempt him because God can't be tempted. And God doesn't tempt you. That's a one-sided conversation you're having when you call yourself having that conversation with God, because God does not entertain that. All right? That's not a conversation. That's not a prayer. All right? You can't make promises quid pro quo with respect to evil issues. All right? Lord, get me out this marriage so I can go be with this woman. God, don't play with that. God doesn't do that. He doesn't. He's not anywhere in that. All right? Not anywhere in that. How are you accepting responsibility for your own action? Is that something you do easily? Because many people have a problem accepting their own responsibility for issues. Parents, when your children come home and they got a bad grade, how many times have you heard the children say, it was the teacher's fault because the teacher didn't give me good instructions. The teacher don't like me. It's her fault. And they might say something ugly about the teacher. It's bad parenting to engage in that kind of discussion with your children, degrading an authority figure. And think about it, we'll do it over a letter grade on a quiz. We'll disparage a teacher's character because your child made a C or a D. Come on, we got to do better than that now. When it comes to accepting personal responsibility, we have to teach that from an early age, that it's this way because you didn't do A, B, or C. All right? Something happens when we get angry about stuff and we lose control. One thing we do is we fail to see reason. People can have a reasonable conversation with you, but because you're angry, you don't hear them. Yeah, I take the time in court to slow folk down when I'm questioning them. Because, see, for one thing, I'm asking them questions that I've asked 100 times. All right? But they're tense. They're not thinking. They're racing. They're trying to say something to get out of the situation when they don't realize their hand's already in the box. All right? They're already trapped. Already. I'm just trying to give them an opportunity to give me a reasonable explanation. And in some respects, I'm trying to verbally allow them to drop it. And most of the time, all they do is continue to dig the hole deeper for themselves. And I tell them, slow down, think. Just tell the truth. The truth is going to help you right now. Because the more you tell me a falsehood, the more difficult it's going to be for me. People have come into my courtroom before and been absolutely guilty of what they're doing, deserving of the punishment, the justice that they saw. That justice happened to be getting locked up. But they've been deserving of that, and I locked them up, but I didn't lock them up for the wrong they did. I locked them up for the lie they told. All right? And plenty of folk have come in straight off the bat and said, I was wrong. I did such and such. You told me to go do this, this, and that. I didn't really take it serious. I got it. I understand. I see what's going on. Can you please give me another chance? And I say, okay. No problem. Just take responsibility for what you've done, because temptation is around all of us. When we are tempted, we will throw reason to the wind, caution to the wind. There's an epidemic in our society right now of people failing to take responsibility for their own actions. As soon as Adam and Eve heard the sound of God in the garden, what they do? They ran off. They didn't stand there. Every other day before that, when God came to visit them in the garden, they approached him. They met him. And they walked with him and they talked with him in the garden. Go read it in Genesis. But that day, the day after the devil had come in and done his thing, when God showed up in the garden, they ran and hid. Actions exhibiting failure to take responsibility for their action. For their responsibility for what they had done. And God said, where are you, Adam? Where are you? And Adam said, I heard you in the garden, and I was afraid, and I was naked, so I hid. That's what happens when we sin. We are naked. When you fall into temptation's sake, you lay yourself bare. You're naked, and that's why people who do wrong and know they do wrong, they hide. You know the first place they hide from? Church. It's hard to come to church. Hard to come to church when you know you're wide open doing wrong. Wide open doing wrong. But guess where you need to be when you're doing it? Church. You need to come to church, but it's a mental block to get behind, get around what you're doing. It's a mental block. Because God said, who told you you were naked? The fact that you know you're naked socially, the fact that you know you're naked publicly, not actually naked, but the fact that you know your life is laid open. You're naked in that response, in that respect. The fact that you know that and are aware of it means that you know the standard and you violated the standard. And if you know the standard, that means God has been talking to you. And the way you get the standard back in track is to go back and talk to God. Then he gave you the standard in the first place, so he can help you fix it. God said, you've eaten from that tree. You've been to that house. You've been drinking that liquor. You've been smoking that blunt. You've been doing whatever. He tells you, I know what you've been doing, and guess what? I can forgive you for what you've done. But as long as you keep hiding behind the tree, staying out of the church, hiding from folk, hiding from church members, you in Winn-Dixie, you see such on one aisle, you duck down the other one. Like they the church police. Oh, I saw such and such in Winn-Dixie. Me call Reverend Spars right now. Reverend Spars? Such and such is in Winn-Dixie right now. She buying macaroni. Nobody does that. Nobody does that. You're doing that to yourself. In fact, I'll go overboard. Not to make you uncomfortable publicly, but if you come in here, I'll go overboard to make you uncomfortable. Oh yeah, I want you not to be comfortable in what you're doing. I'm praying for God to make the remote stop working, for the boat not to work. I'm praying for you not to have a good time in your wrongdoing. Yeah, too many folk get easy and wrong. Yeah, I've been doing it this long, I might as well keep doing it. Yeah, too many folk, I see them. I told you one Sunday, I came here and had to do something and I forgot. I needed something and we ran to Walmart. I ran to Walmart during the Sunday school time because I needed something in the worship service. And when I got to Walmart, it was amazing how many folk who should have been in church I saw. It was amazing how many folk who were in Walmart, they should have been right here. And do you know how they reacted when they saw me? It was like they thought I was hunting them. Oh, hey, Reverend Spar, what you doing? I'm coming. They start telling on themselves. I'm coming to church. We having a barbecue today. I'm coming next Sunday. Fine. Why? Because I know I'm naked right now. I know I'm naked. And I got to get it straight. God permits temptation, and we fall into temptation. But he never directs it. He permits it. He permits it, but he never directs it. No, he never directs us to sin. So James says clearly, God does not tempt any man. All right, so realize the source of the temptation, and then recognize the power of it. Recognize the power of it. Some folk never understood, and I'm going to make this as plain as I can. Some folk never understood the power that one little drink they had when they were 16 was going to have on them. And here they are now, 56. And from that one little drink they had, the power that it had over them has been significant. Oh, it's been significant because you've been chasing. That's what they tell you, folk who got addictions to substances like crack. They got the first use and they were hooked. They were hooked after the first hit on that pipe. And they've been chasing that hit ever since, trying to get that feeling. And it's never, ever going to be the same. Never. David, you mentioned him, had no business up on the roof. He had no business up there. But he saw something he liked. And then he followed her. And he kept his eye on her. Temptation. You see the process? You see the progress? First he saw her. Then he followed her. Then he had to have her. It's almost like expecting a baby. And when you give birth to that sin baby, oh, it's going to come out wide open. When you give it that much to recognize the power. The word in verse 14 for entice is a fishing term. It's just, the bait has to be attractive. The bait has to look like something you want. All right? It's got to be something, or else the fish wouldn't hit it. Now, he doesn't realize that's plastic. But he does, and he also doesn't realize there's a hook in it. But it's attractive to him. Same thing with us. The devil is not omniscient. Put this in your lexicon. Omniscient, all-knowing. The devil is not. He is not. People say all the time, the devil know what I'm doing. You told him. He does not know everything. If he did know everything, that would make him like God. And he is not like God. He has to report to God. The way he finds out about what you like is by what you do. And so what he is a master of is a master of scheming. He's a master. He can take a pig and make it look pretty. Yeah, he can present it to you as if you can put lipstick on a pig and you'll be attracted to it. Until you realize afterward that it's a pig. Oh, let me put it plain now. He can make her look attractive. Women, he can look like Adonis. Now, Adonis might not be good in this context. That's the Greek god. He can look like whoever it is that you think the finest dude is on TV. All right, I don't know who that is because I wouldn't even want to say that I think some dude look fine. But anyway, all right, that's out the question. Yeah, you can make him look like Andra, all right? Look, that's right. It's my fan club. Everybody got a fan club. You need one if you ain't got one, yeah. Until you get through it and you realize he's not. He's a fake. But it's because the devil can make him attractive. Look, what dude is going to come to you and show you how horrible he can be initially? What dude is going to show you I'm low down, I ain't going to never take care of you, I'm going to use everything you got, any money you got, I want it, I'm going to mistreat you. Nobody shows that. They're going to be charming. They're going to whisper sweet something. Well, y'all take sweet nothing, but they're going to whisper sweet somethings in your ear. And you're going to fall for it. You're going to be calling him. Ooh, I can't wait to tweet him. Until you get your hand in the box. And then when your hand is in the box, let me see, what does hand in the box represent? You co-sign a car for it. You let him move into your house. You let him take your car while you go to work. He take your car and ride around Birmingham all day. Yeah, you even give him gas money to ride in your car. Recognize the power of it. It's all encompassing. It'll trap you. It'll keep you down. And guess what? It's not going to take its foot off your neck. It's going to use you like an orange. It's going to squeeze every drop of juice out of you. Be wonderful if we could live life without facing temptations, y'all. But the truth of the matter is life is not that simple. The reason why? Because we won't. We won't. We always won't. If everybody was just satisfied with what they had, we wouldn't have a problem. But rarely are people satisfied with what they have, even if they have much. And so, it doesn't matter if you're a monk that lives in a monastery in the Swiss Alps, if you're a businessman in Atlanta, a housewife in New York, a student somewhere in Virginia, the professor of a Bible college, or even the pastor of a Baptist church in Birmingham, Alabama. Everybody faces temptations. Everybody faces temptations. The question is, what lures you? What lures you? Now, this is one of those situations where everybody can say, what is it that's attractive to me? Because it's got power over you. I think there's a slide after this, Tam. Yeah, what is it? What draws you? Now, you can switch that with a whole lot of folk. A whole lot of folk in here are dying, literally, to have a piece of cake. Literally dying. No, you ain't supposed to have it. It's all right. I'll take my medicine later on. Temptation. Temptation is all over you. And sometimes God will allow, hear me, you to suffer. He will allow it because of your choices. He will let it go on. And then you start using your trials as an excuse. You ever seen that? Folk live ragged all their lives. All their lives they live ragged. And then they get sick behind the choices they've made. And then they want everybody to be feeling sorry for them. Well, you know, my diabetes acting up. Well, yeah, you eat a whole cake every day. I know, but I ain't feeling good. Stop eating cake. First one in line, can I get 2 pieces a pound? Because we start using that as an excuse. Hard times sometimes can lead to temptation. Let me say this to you. This is true. There's never any reason that you have to sin. There's not a reason. We always do it because we want to. This is the biggest lie that young drug dealers tell today. They say, I just got to take care of my family, you know. This is what they say. Well, man, why are you doing this? Why? No, I just got to take care of my family. You know, And then they use the well-worn too, and that by any means necessary, I got to take care of my family. What? What kind of vile ignorance is this that we're talking that I have to be bad, I have to resort to hurting other people in order to take care of my family, and most of them doing it while wearing a big cross. Claim they love the Lord. Temptation, once you get into it, can make you feel like you're doing the right thing when you're not. Sometimes the devil's going to whisper in our ear that we need some kind of pleasure in our life that we don't need. It'll numb you to the pain that you're experiencing. Guess what? Pain is in your life for a reason. The Lord allows pain to come. Pain is in your body for a reason. If your knee hurts and it hurts long enough, you need to go get your knee checked. All right? Because something is going on. If you got pain in your life, if every time you talk to a particular person, it's a painful experience, that pain means something. That means don't talk to them no more. All right? If it's in your marriage and there's pain, that means you're not talking about some important issues that need to be discussed. Recognize the power of temptation and how it can get in any situation. Any person who's married is going to have marital issues. All right? But temptation can get in your life and make you think that a marriage that's just having marital issues is a broken marriage. And the more you hang around, this is why I tell folk, if you are having marital problems, hang out with folk who got good marriages. Do not go hang out with divorced people who had awful marriages, because that's how it started with me, child. First thing he did. Because they won't give you the right perspective. And it's not because they're trying to be ugly. It's simply that misery loves company. Yeah. You got to have some good God in you to make sure that people don't go through what you went through, to talk them above that. The last thing is remember, there's always an escape from temptation. Always. Always an escape. Look at what James wrote. He said, there hath no temptation taken you, in verse 13, but such as is common to man. There hath no temptation taken you, but such as is common to man. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it. No temptation is irresistible to the Christian unless Christ is involved in it. Know that. You got to have the Lord. And he always gives us a way of escaping the temptation. The escape might mean you're going to lose something that you've been trying to get for a long time, but there is a way to get out of the temptation you find yourself in. Let me be more specific on this. If you go to certain movies and they make you weak because you have certain desires that you can't handle, don't go to the movies. It's just that simple. Don't go to the movies because you're setting yourself up to be tempted. If you're weakened by relationships that you have with certain people, then you need to not be with those people. It's just that simple. If they make you, when I get with them, I always do such and such. Well, guess what? Don't be with them. Don't be with them. Not until you're stronger and they're strong enough as your friend to help you deal with that. If you got a problem with gambling, don't go to casinos. All right? And now you got to watch out on your computer because you can gamble just as much on your computer. Stop going to 7-Eleven and buying them scratch-off things. I found that people who got gambling issues, and I had a relative who had a gambling addiction, had to go in the hospital for it. All right? I know it can be bad, but they will gamble on anything. You can be talking about anything. We can be at a family function. I bet it's going to take 2 hours for the ribs to get ready. What? How much you put on that? Nothing. Nothing. I'm not, what? Are you kidding me? Everything has got to be a gamble. Yeah. If you got a problem with drinking, guess where you shouldn't go? Hardly anywhere these days, but certainly you shouldn't. You shouldn't put yourself in that position. Temptation is nothing to play around. Nothing at all to play around. When you face a sensual sin, you need to run. When you face the sin of gossip, shut your mouth. When you face the sin of laziness, get up and do something. If you feel with the sin of bitterness, you need to forgive people. You need to forgive. If you mad at folk because it seems like everybody else gets something, what you're really harboring is an anger toward God because you don't think God has blessed you with what you think you deserve. And that's why you run around mad at everybody else. You ever seen anybody like this? Can't find joy in anything? Baby born, and he look all right. It's a baby. Why you mad at the baby? They could have had twins. I mean, when your sin has been holding you back and you haven't given the Lord what he's due, the only way to change that is to get up and do something. That's how you change that. Listen, this analogy, this story, and then I'm gone. There was a town that built this beautiful new building. Beautiful, beautiful. It was in a little village in Pittsburgh. It was red brick and was designed to be the city's, the new city hall. Had the police headquarters in it and the court. And it was a small building, but people absolutely loved it. It was absolutely dynamic. But in just a few months after they finished the construction, they started noticing some things. They started noticing some cracks. And then they noticed that the windows wouldn't close on it. And then before a few weeks, the doors would stand ajar. And then the floor, beautiful hardwood floor, buckled in the floor. Finally, the sidewalk out in front of the building cracked. In just a few months after they built the building, they ended up having to condemn the building. Why? So they called in these experts because this town has spent good money. They need to know what had happened. Was it defective manufacturing? Was the builder, the contractor out of sorts? What exactly happened in this? Because we got to sue somebody. Everybody want to sue somebody. They discovered that they had laid the foundation of the building on some old mines. Yeah, on some old mines. And the continuing work in the mines, every time they had an explosion in the mine, it shook the building a little bit, rocked the building a little bit. So much so that the foundation of the building was cracked. And when the foundation of the building cracked, every other part of the building was in jeopardy. What you trying to say? If you fool around with temptation long enough, playing with it, lingering around it, then down in the heart of your life, there's going to be fractures. And everything you build on from that point forward is going to have cracks in it. And it won't be long before those cracks destroy the whole building. And some of us have built our lives on mess. Oh, don't say that, Reverend Small. Don't say that. Some of us have built our lives on mess. No, we publicly show a good face, but we know that our life is built on mess. In fact, some of us have built our lives on being the other woman or the other man. Publicly, we show a good face. Some of us present a good face out front, but inside, we know that we drink too much. We know. We know we need to get a hold to that. Some of us know that we don't treat our families right. We don't treat our spouses right. We know that as a fracture in our foundation. Well, I'm here to tell you right now that there's a way you can shore all that up. And the first part is admitting the problem you have. Admitting that you have succumbed to the temptation to not be the best you can be. Once you admit that you have gotten to that point, that confession can lead you to getting better. But you got to be first willing to do it. See, this is a hard time to open the doors to the church because it makes everybody sit back and say, what am I not doing? What am I not doing right? Technical difficulties. I'm not doing something right. I got to change it. And if I admit it today, and I know I'm not doing it right, and I get up and I come to the front of the church, then everybody else is going to know that I've been doing something wrong. Well, guess what? Everybody in here has been doing something wrong. There's not a single person in here, not a single person in this room who has already accepted Christ, who hasn't done something wrong. Every one of us has. We may be further down the road from our wrongdoing than you are, but every one of us had to start by saying, I know I've been wrong. I don't want you to get any further in your life without making that acknowledgement, without saying, I need to make a change in my life. The best way to make the change is to make sure you have a manager in your life. My best manager has been Jesus Christ. As long as he's been in charge of my life, things have been much better. Look at this. When I was in charge of my life, the way I did it, I was cussing folk out. Not just cussing folk out. All right? Oh, I was. I'm admitting it. They say something to me, I ain't like it, I just, yeah, just full of language that was not representative of who I had to be. But since the Lord has been in my life, I got to make sure that the mouth that I preach with also brings good greetings to other folk, also has good conversation for other folk. Am I perfect? No. You know, there's some times when the dough hit my hand too hard, then I remember the old Andre. Just being honest with you, but Lord knows, we're doing much better than we used to be. What am I trying to tell you? This is an ever-evolving thing. I'm better, and by the time I get to heaven, I'm going to be perfect. Never will I be perfect before I get there. I'm not yielding to the temptations that I used to. I can drive by every church of chicken in Birmingham and not go in one of them, because that's one of my weaknesses. Yeah, he knows what gets to me. I can put that down now. Now, what's yours? Are you willing to make it better from this day forward? It looks like we got an ensemble that's going to sing. While they sing, the doors of our church are going to be wide open. Today is the day that somebody needs to yield not to temptation. Today's the day. Come on, y'all, sing for us.